Hi, I'm Michael Yardney, and I see every year as a time for learning and personal development. That's one of the best parts of being involved in the property investment markets. I'm learning from my clients, both the successful and the not so successful ones. I'm learning from my professional colleagues and my mentors, and I'm learning from my own successes and my failures. I'm also learning from the property markets because they're so dynamic. You never quite manage to solve the puzzle because the puzzle's always getting reshuffled in front of your eyes. Just when you think you've got it solved too. Anyway, having now invested for around 40 years, I'd like to share with you a few of the lessons I've learned, often the hard way. The first lesson is don't let your emotions drive your investment decisions. Probably the most important lesson you can get is to never get carried away when the markets are booming and never get too disenchanted during property slumps. Letting your emotions drive your investments is a surefire way to disaster. Lesson number 2 is booms don't last forever. During a boom, everyone's optimistic and expects good times to last forever. Just as we lose our confidence during the downturn. Our market behaves cyclically, and each boom sets us up for the next downturn, just as each downturn paves the way for the next property boom. The lesson, of course, is that take advantage of our booming markets, but get prepared for the next phase of the property cycle. I found during the last cycle, most investors didn't really have their downsides covered or their upsides maximised. The third lesson is to take a long-term perspective because the property markets move in cycles, but every decade there's going to be a few years when the market's flat, a few years when maybe the market will even fall a bit. However, well-located real estate's increased in value on average by about 8% per annum over the long term. Imagine if you could just buy the properties your parents bought at the price they paid 30 or 40 years ago. How many properties would you have bought then, knowing what those properties would be worth today? The fourth lesson I'd like to share is that get rich quick is get poor quick. Real estate's a long-term investment, yet some investors seem to chase the fast money. You've probably met investors like that. They look for the next deal to make themselves fabulously rich. Yet when you see them a year or two later, they're usually no better off financially and still talking about that next fantastic deal that's going to make them rich. They're often influenced by the latest get-rich-quick artist. They've got a great story about how you can join them and become stupendously wealthy. These stories are very compelling, even hard to resist sometimes. They often pander to our wishes to give up our day jobs. A lot of people want to. I love my day job, but they want to get involved in property full-time. But really it takes most people many years to accumulate sufficient assets to do this. Patience is a virtue. Warren Buffett said it right when he explained that wealth is the transfer of money from the impatient to the patient. The next lesson is to follow a system. Smart investors follow a system to take the emotions out of their decisions and ensure they don't speculate. Look, let's be honest, almost anyone can make money during a property boom because the market covers up most mistakes. But when the market turned last time, many investors without a system found themselves in financial trouble. Warren Buffett said it succinctly, you only find out you're swimming naked when the tide goes out. In other words, if you aren't following a system, one that works in all market conditions, you're going to be caught naked when the market turns. If you prefer to have consistent profits, a reduced risk, then follow a proven system. Make your investment boring so that the rest of your life is exciting. The sixth lesson I'd like to share is beware of doomsayers, because as long as I've been investing, I remember hearing people with excuses why property prices are going to stop rising, or even worse, why property values will plummet. However, in that time, well-located properties have doubled in value every 8 or 10 years. The problem is fear is a very powerful emotion, and one that the media uses to grab our attention. Sadly, some people miss out on the opportunity to develop their own financial independence because they listen to the messages of those who want to deflate our financial dreams. The seventh lesson I'd like to share with you is that the crowd is usually wrong. Crowd psychology influences people's investment decision, usually to their detriment. Investors tend to be the most optimistic near the peak of the cycle at a time when everyone else is excited. And it's also a time when they should be the most cautious, and they're most pessimistic when all the doom and gloom is in the media and everyone else is negative. Remember crowd emotion, but that's actually when there's the least downside. Market sentiment is a key driver to our property cycles, and one of the reasons why our markets overreact, overshooting during booms and getting depressed during slumps. The next lesson I'd like to share is that there's not one property market. While many people generalise about the property market, there are many sub-markets in Australia. Each state's got its own cycle, then within each state there are segmented areas by geography, by price point, by type of property. For example, the top end of the property market, the prestige end, will perform very differently to the new home buyer market or the investor segment or the medium-priced established property market sector. And while at any time there are hundreds of thousands of properties for sale in Australia, in my mind less than 1% of properties are what I'd call investment grade. Another lesson I've learned is treat property investments like a business. The successful investors I know have grown a substantial asset base by treating their investments like a business. They do this by surrounding themselves with a great team of advisors, getting the right type of finance, setting up the correct ownership and asset protection structures, and knowing how to legally use the taxation system to their advantage. Also remember, there's always going to be reasons not to invest. Every year brings its own crises, a lot of reasons not to invest. You can go back as far as in history as you like. There's always going to be a year of crisis. There'll never be a crisis-free year. Sure, some years are worse than others, but it's always going to be bad news, and much of it unexpected. So unfortunately, where investors get themselves into trouble is by focusing on these, and they see these crises as events that are going to change the course of history, when in fact they're just the normal path of history. The 11th lesson is you know less than you think. There's nearly an insurmountable amount of material to learn about the fields of property, finance and economics. The big lesson that I have learned is the more I think I know, the less I realise I know. The market's going to humble you, so check your door at the ego. Always be learning. And the last lesson I'd like to leave you with today is that not to mistake money for wealth. Otherwise you'll be living a life accumulating things while making the mistake of owning and owing. Money is going to make your life easier to a lot of degrees, no argument about this, but chasing money will make you miserable. I became a lot happier about 20 years ago when I realised that money isn't true wealth at all. And boy did I learn the hard way. True wealth is what you're left with when they take all your money and your properties away. It's your health, your friends, your family, your knowledge, your mindset, the ability to give back to the community, your spirituality, your contribution. Why don't you let me know what you learned this year in the comments section and what you're hoping to achieve this year. But if you want to learn some more lessons, I'm going to explain what I'm doing and how to take advantage of the markets, but more importantly, what I'm not doing at our upcoming property and economic market updates trainings I'm going to be conducting in 5 states around Australia. You can find out all about these at propertymarketupdate.com.au. Reserve your place now, and I look forward to seeing you there.